Stuart, Brighton knocked out Liverpool 2-1 in the FA Cup. Klopp's got his problems, of that there is no doubt. What about Brighton? I mean, can they become, Stuart, a long-term threat to the Premier League's traditional Big Six?
Well, their business model is fantastic. You've got to say that they're buying cheap, they're selling at a premium, and it hasn't affected the product on the pitch at all. They've even lost their manager, and they've been faultless in regard to their performances. If anything, you would say there's been a consistency, if not got slightly better. The one thing you've got to say, how long can you keep selling all your better players and keep replacing them and it be seamless? I think it's got a shelf life, but brilliant at the moment. The club look as though they're run in a very solid manner.
Yeah. Simon, let me tell you, anyone who thinks that Brighton is a soft touch in this market should forget it.
Yeah.
Because Moises Caicedo, in spite of the fact it's been reported that Arsenal came in last night with a second bid, this time 70 million, he will not be going in this window. I had it reaffirmed to me just before we came on air. He will not, repeat, not be going. And he's been told that.
Well, look, I mean,
and so is his representative.
I mean, the characterisation of business model, I don't think is accurate. It's not their business model. Their recruitment is very good. They don't have a desire to potentially sell players. They're not building players to come through their youth development to be able to punt them out the door when they've made one appearance. This is just the downside of being a club that will be trumped by bigger clubs like Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool and so on and so forth because of the very, very nature of a legacy of those football clubs. I mean, the last 3 years has been remarkable in recruitment. They have done fabulous recruitment. Prior to that, they had their own moments in time, but when they brought in Graham Potter and they built a recruitment proposition, they built the ability to be able to get good players into their teams and maximise them. But I don't think there's been a desire. They didn't have a desire to sell Ben White. They didn't have a desire to sell some of these players. The tragedy of it is what you saw is exactly the conundrum that Brighton have, which is the circle they cannot square.
Yeah.
They put a player on their side, he's played 25 games for them, right? 26 games is how many games he's played. Been out on loan, come back, got in their side, and as a result of their endeavours and their vision on these players, what you get is other people coming along and then you see a player going, well, actually, I'd rather be at Arsenal than Brighton.
Yeah.
I'd rather be at Arsenal, or I'd rather be at Tottenham, or I'd rather be at Liverpool if the opportunity came round. And that's the conundrum that Brighton are never going to be able to. And the answer about whether they're going to feature inside the top six as a regular disruptor, you could ask Leicester how that feels because they won the Premier League, and the difficulty, unless you're going to have sustained and consistent evolution and growth, not selling your best players to fund the next evolution, building upon your best players. And I think Brighton are doing remarkably well, but I don't see them being a disruptor ad infinitum.
Simon, I can imagine what you made of Caicedo's message that he posted on Instagram. I'm the youngest of 10 siblings from a poor upbringing in Santo Domingo, Ecuador. I'm proud to be able to bring in a record transfer fee for Brighton, which would allow them to reinvest in the club. I mean,
have you seen
you're
this?
not on, Brighton are saying.
Have you seen this latest sort of PR management, the agents who are encouraging players to think about how they're going to, they're going to allow the club to sell them to go precisely where they want. So that club that they looked after financially in terms of the transfer fee. Anthony Gordon just did it at Newcastle. I'm going to Newcastle, and I'm very glad that the transfer fee will be able to help Everton. What about your behaviour recently? What about the fact that you wanted to play for Everton rather than go to Chelsea in the summer and go out the door to Newcastle?
Yeah.
And you're not doing this because Brighton are going to get 70 million quid. You're doing it because you want to move to Arsenal. And you, unfortunately, young man, have got 2 or 3 years left on your contract. I, however, though, do think there is an element of, if a player's prepared to go out on social media and do this, then you're managing a problem here on him.
I mean, I admire Brighton for what they're doing here, Simon, but how long can you hold your resolve? They bought him for 4.5 mil.
Yeah.
If it's true, 70 came through the door last night.
I admire them for the stance I would take, and I would be in the same situation, which is, I don't think so. This stage in the transfer window, it makes life difficult for you because it leaves you no opportunity to replace him. With that kind of money, everyone knows you've got it, so it burns a hole in your pocket and everyone else's eyes because they can think they can jack up the price of anything you want to buy from them. But I would be in the situation of saying, okay, if you want him this much, then you will pay this amount and you will pay it on the nail. Now, there'll be no deferred payment terms, no on the drip, no based upon performances. It's all in, all on, now. Yeah.
Stuart, you've been in and around players all your life. Caicedo, at the moment, we understand, has been told stay away until the window shuts. Yep. If he was around the place at the moment, would that have an effect on the others?
Well, they obviously think so. You've got to know the individual for that. But I think anybody that wants to leave your ranks is going to create a stink in the dressing room and a stink around the training ground. Listen, he might end up going before the window shuts, but
I don't think so.
No, that might be the case. If Simon, I think Simon hits the nail on the head from the club's point of view. You turn around and say, look, put all the money up front. I think if he's cost £4.5 million and he's going for 70, that to me looks like good business for the club. But listen, the club, listen, they've done brilliant. The one thing I would say, a lot of players that have left and the value they've left for Brighton. When you look at them, you think, well, Basuma, has he punched?
Kicked on.
Kicked on, probably not. Cucurella, probably not. Ben White, you would say yes, but he cost 50 million. So he's probably done what he should have done for that. And you can go on and on from there, sort of thing.
I tell you who sounded good was their manager. My word, he doesn't muck about, does he, in terms of his impressions of people and what he expects from his players?
De Zerbi,
yeah. I mean, his attitude is we're kicking on. And his attitude was, I'm looking to Europe. I expect us to get into Europe, and I don't want to sell our players that stop us from doing that.
Yes.
That's strong words from a manager that most of the time you'd manage expectations.
Yes.
Now he's increasing expectations.
That's a good point you made. Actually, Simon, when he did speak post-match, he said a few things. Have a listen.
I would like he can finish the season with us, but we are ready to go forward without him. I think we need some player in some position. I spoke a lot of time with Tony. He knows very well my opinion, because we are a good team, but we can improve also through the transfer market window. And we lost Trussard. If we lose also Caicedo, can be a problem for us. I can understand him, because when you are 21 and you receive the request of a big team, they are playing in Europe competition, but I can understand where start. I don't know if you understand, but Moise is a good guy.
So that was Roberto De Zerbi, actually, Stuart, finishing up by saying he's a good lad.
Yeah.
He's a good lad, Caicedo. But it's our understanding this morning it will not happen. A lot can happen between now and 11 o'clock tomorrow night. But he's staying.
I think a lot of people in the footballing world will probably respect Brighton's stance on this, to say, look, he's our player, he signed a contract, he's not going anywhere. And they know full well that if they shut the door on this movement and he stays till the summer, probably the money will still be there in the summer.
Yeah.
If nothing else, other teams will be alerted and they sit up and say, my goodness, Arsenal prepared to pay 70 million. We need to have a look at this boy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I said, a lot will happen between now and tomorrow night. Simon, you and I will go through the deadline with Alex Crook tomorrow night. I think a hell of a lot of business will be done before the 11 o'clock deadline itself. Stuart, we're going to mention West Ham later on, because they're in the thick of it today. A youngster going, someone else maybe who'd like to go isn't going. Put more meat in the bones to that. But Brighton fans, what do you think of your club's stance? Moises Caicedo, even in the face of a £70 million bid, the club are holding firm. They are not selling the player. End of. That's how they want it to be portrayed this morning. What do you think of that? 03717 223344. Strong stance by your football club. 81089 if you want to send me a message.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.